Cool. All right, sounds good. What's up, guys? So today, right, if you're watching this on the replay, probably best to skip ahead a couple minutes just prior to people hopping in here. But yeah, we got Dylan from Aura here, so we're super excited to jam on the stuff. And we are here with a special announcement for today. Now, unfortunately, it was Warner's birthday a couple days ago, so he is away currently, right? But Dylan and I are here to fill you guys in on some important stuff that went down. So you want to break down for the people what went into play today?
Yeah, so we launched an integration with Boxem, which is pretty exciting. We've been talking with you guys for a little bit. You know, it's funny. I've been watching you guys. I like when new software launches. I always watch, see how they operate, see how they build. And it was good to see you guys do it right.
Ooh, okay.
You know, it's just like, all right, cool, man. All right, you know, they're taking it serious. You know, they're making the right moves, and seeing the community react to it, and you know, seeing a lot of positive feedback. I'm like, okay, this would be good. Our big thing is the Amazon software ecosystem should be more open. It should be more integrated. It shouldn't be this closed silo data kind of thing. And you know, for us, adding more and more integrations, and hopefully setting the precedent that other software should also be integrating with one another. That's a good thing.
Boom, makes sense. Cool, and everything. So yeah, basically, you guys know from my stuff what Boxem is, right? So listing, shipping, analytics, right? And then Aura is primarily a repricing tool, right? So
Yeah.
can you break down why you should be using a repricing tool and what it actually does? Because one of the most common things I'll get during streams like this and everything, and just in general in the Amazon community is, okay, like, won't that just lower my price? And what about Amazon's repricing feature, right? What about
I love it.
Yeah. Let's break down that stuff too.
For sure. So, okay, here's a good way to think about why repricing is important. If in the NFL, they allowed steroids, you could have some people be like, hey, I'm not doing that. That's great. Yeah. But guess what? You're getting outcompeted against. And repricing is like a steroid for your sales. It allows you to be at the optimal price at any given moment. And this is what's crazy. Every single one of your SKUs, every second of every day, there is a optimal place or price where if you are there, you're best positioned for sales. Okay. In Legacy Aura, the old version, we tend to see 40 to 60% increase in sales if you're coming from no repricing. If you were coming from another repricing software, we saw more closer to like 40 to 50%. And that's the old version. The new version 1.0 is dramatically better. So it's one of those things that you can't not use. Which is kind of dumbfounding. It's one of those things where, you know, a lot of software, I tend to say it's in one of two camps. It's either in the efficiency camp, so it's making you faster at the thing you're doing, or it's an effectiveness tool. Repricing is one of the few things where it's purely effectiveness. I mean, yeah, it helps make you more efficient, but we're actually not helping you do the work faster. We're doing the work for you. 24/7. So 24/7, we're updating your pricing depending on what kind of strategies you're using to make sure that you're well positioned for sales. Because what you don't want to have happen is you ship something in, you forget about it. It's been, 3 weeks, and the buy box is 20, was trending up, and you just stayed there. So repricing, to go to your point, a lot of people think repricing lowers their price. It can. And sometimes that's the right move to do. Yep. And we can talk about life cycle and stuff like that. But
cool.
But good repricing will actually protect your profit margin. It will raise your price. And the reason why people have this stereotype, so to speak, of repricing lowering their pricing is because there's a lot of repricing software. And some of them, unfortunately, are not great. And they can lower your price. So it's not that that doesn't happen. It's that you need to be picking a software that actually understands that protecting profit margin is important. And there's a right way to do that and a wrong way to do that. And so that's what we spend a lot of time building out is, we've been sellers, my co-founder, James and I. So we see it from the seller's perspective. It's not just get me more buy box. Because here's the thing, when sellers say, or when I ask sellers, hey, how do you measure success of your repricing software? They go, well, one of two things. My buy box percentage went up or my sales went up. Okay, sounds great. Vanity metrics, in my opinion, because I can hack both those things. Yep. If you say, Dylan, I want those two outcomes. All right, I'm going to lower your prices by 15 to 20%, and you're going to get both those things. But are you happy? No, because you gave something up. And so there's this interesting balance where yes, you can have too much buy box ownership percentage. And yes, you can increase your sales, but you're trading profit margin to a degree. There's like a sweet spot, and we call that the optimal price.
Boom, right? Because that's the thing is, and this is a very difficult thing to understand when you're a new seller, and no one really knows like the specifics of the buy box algorithm, I assume, right? But
No.
like let's break that down, right? And that when you guys watch this, whether it's on the recording live here with us, right? Any questions you got, let us know. Anything, but there'll be listings all the time. You'll look on SellerAmp, right? And the buy box will be 24. And there'll be someone under it at 23.75, and there might even be someone under it at 22, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't that 22 seller getting buy box? Because it's not just price. Delivery
Correct.
date plays into it, right?
Yep.
Delivery date being, if you're an FBM seller, typically your delivery dates will show further out than an FBA seller that's in stock prime, right? Just the nature of the shipping models work, right?
Yep.
But to play on the flip side of that, there might be an FBA seller that's back ordered.
Right.
That you priced incorrectly, right? And that they should be using Boxem auto list above the buy box, right?
Yes.
And then once it's fully checked in, it shows active in Aura. Then you turn the repricer on and get that thing going, right? So that's why there's a lot of nuance with that stuff. Yeah.
There is. And what's frustrating for sellers is there is so much complexity and so much nuances. So here's the cool thing. What you just said makes a ton of sense. Listed above the buy box when you're doing your shipment. What's interesting is we have workflows, which like our automation kind of rules.
Sure. Yeah.
You can, and now with Boxem, you can basically, whenever a listing gets imported into Aura, we'll grab your cost from Boxem.
Yep.
You can have an automation that says, whenever you import a new listing, I want you to apply a certain strategy and I want you to enable repricing. What's interesting is in your strategy, you can say, go to my max when out of stock. So we'll actually intentionally raise you.
As you should.
Yeah, because a lot of people will list at, let's say, $25. That's where the buy box is. But guess what?
They screw themselves, man.
Now the buy box is at 28. But guess what? You went live at 25. Holding all else equals, you just pulled the buy box to 25 when you could have came in at 28 and been completely fine. So there is a lot of these nuances. And that's why we built Maven, our AI strategy, because it's like, dude, like the amount of variations that occur, and to your point about like nobody really knows the exact algorithm, that's so true. So instead, because there is, in my opinion, not one algorithm. There's a bunch of things happening, and those things change. So like right now, we're seeing a lot of used media get preferential treatment as FBM over FBA. Well, logistically, it makes sense because Amazon doesn't want to be a storage facility. They want to be a fulfillment facility. So even those things can change. It's crazy. And so how do you build something that is flexible enough to say, I don't know what's going to change, but I know that something will change.
Yep. Yeah. And to keep going with that point about with that 25, 28 example, if you send it in and match the buy box, to make matters worse, you might not even get the buy box until you're fully checked in, even if you show active on the listing. And that's why it's important that you guys start looking at the delivery dates of your I mean, you low-key do solve it by completely just check until it shows fully active and everything, but that does help solve it as well. But that's like a big thing I talk about with coaching guys all the time as well. Now, Dylan, I want to talk more in your story too, and we got some questions coming in chat. Do you mind breaking down the special offer we have both for Boxem users or Boxem New Year's and Aura New Year's as well?
Yeah, so we've matched each other. So if you're
in the best way possible.
Which is great. So basically, if you're using Aura and you're not using Boxem and you want to use Boxem, Boxem's going to give you guys 2 months for free. And the inverse is also true. So if you're using Boxem and not using Aura, but you want to, you get 2 months free as well. So, and guess what? If you're not using either of us, you get 2 months free of both.
Right. Yep. So yeah, so that's I'll put the coupon code for that in the chat too as well.
Nice.
And then let me grab I'll grab the Boxem one as well too and put in the description as well too.
Nice.
Boxem here. Cool. Very good. All right, cool. Okay, now Dylan, I'm gonna grab this link here, but while we're going on that, can you break down like your story around this? Because I've heard it a bunch of times, and it's like I'd say relatively similar to mine. We got started around the same age. And it's like very relatable, and you made the transition from personal trainer to Amazon. Like break down what that all looks like here.
Yeah, so I took about 4 years off from graduating high school, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Became a full-time personal trainer, got real big into the gym. Started to hear about this FBA thing, Started sourcing on the weekends at like Targets and Walmarts. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. It works. That's nice. Eventually left the gym, and I had this weird fork where all my clients were like, we'll go wherever you want. And I could have bought a gym that didn't have personal training, could have built it out, could have done at-home training. Like I had so much opportunity. But for me, I'm a scale guy. So it's really hard to scale your time without just charging more.
Borderline. Yeah.
Yeah, and and it was tough because I kind of fell into a niche where I was helping middle school and high school kids that were struggling with weight and with self-esteem and confidence. And it just felt weird going to their parents, be like, I want to make more, so I'm charging your kid more. And I was like, that's weird. I'm not doing it. So I basically went ham on RA. And at that time, I decided to go back to school. I went to college full time. I wanted to do it. I wanted to be in person, full time, finance major. So then I didn't have time. So I tried OA, was horrible at it. It was a lot harder back in the day. There's a lot less software. So the next fork is, okay, we'll wholesale a private label. Well, private label is really nice if you don't need the cash flow and you can exit for a nice multiple down the line. I didn't have a ton of cash and I needed to pay my bills. So I went wholesale. And what's interesting is there was only one course and nobody really talked about wholesale. It was this kind of vague thing that seemed mystical in a weird way. Come to find out, the hack for wholesale is just sales. If you understand sales as a skill set, you'll crush it with wholesale. There's no skill called wholesale. So I stopped doing RA, even though it was paying my bills. And I said, I have to figure this out, and struggled for about 2 to 3 months until it finally clicked. And I remember sitting on the phone with a potential brand, and I was just fed up being told no. And I finally was like, listen, dude, I'm not getting the account. I get that. Tell me why you hate me. Why do you hate Amazon sellers? And he vented for like 30 minutes. I was writing everything down. So I was like, all right, these are my objections. So I thought for about an hour, okay, well, how would I preemptively speak to these things before they even bring it up? And so I changed my outreach, and the next one, dramatically better conversation. So started doing that, started to do well with it. Eventually created the first wholesale focused podcast, Wholesale Made Easy. I was doing...
Just pulled up the link to plug it. Every time I'm going to bring it up, Dylan. Every time. Could be 5 years from now, and I'll still bring it up, but not to interrupt on that.
No, I appreciate it. I'm a big evergreen content guy. I don't like tactics. Give me foundations and fundamentals. So, we stopped the podcast. It's about 50 something episodes, but it's how to actually do it. We started the first wholesale focused Facebook group, got up to like 15,000 people. I was live sourcing for free every Tuesday for about 2.5 years.
Right. You built that whole industry. That's like what my whole channel is based on. And I used to watch that shit all the time, even years later, 2021 was primarily when I was looking at that stuff. And I believe it was primarily 2019 that you were doing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, see people do, live sourcing is like, nice.
Right. Dude, yeah. Crazy.
Well, for me, we knew we wanted to build a software company, and we didn't want to get into education. That wasn't our thing. So we said, let's just teach everything for free to build our audience. And we just gave everything for free. There were times when I was live sourcing and I was like, I wish nobody saw that brand. That's a good product right there. But it was great. We're big on education. So I then met my now co-founder, James, on Instagram. I was DMing everyone who had a larger wholesale business than I did. There's 12 people. Yeah. We started to have a weekly call, just checking in. Hey, what are you doing? What are you learning? Come to find out he was getting his master's degree in computer science.
Oh, man. Hold up. No, bro, it's crazy how everything good in my life has come from random people on the internet, man.
Dude, and what's so funny, talking to him, he's like, yeah, the reason why I responded is I looked you up and found your blog and liked what you were talking about. Cause I was just writing my own thoughts of here's what wholesale really is and blah, 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 writing to nobody. So you should put yourself out there because insane things can happen. And so we launched VinDriveCRM.com, which is really for wholesale sellers. That was something we wanted. Didn't really go far. We made all the mistakes. We learned a ton. And so we said, okay, well, this isn't working, but we love what we're doing and we've learned a ton. Let's pivot into something that we really, really need and want. And for us, that was repricing. We had tried all of them. They were overwhelming, complicated. And honestly, it sounds funny now running a repricing software company. I was afraid of repricers. I was afraid I was going to mess everything up. So, James spent 8 to 9 months by himself building the beta, and we launched that in December 2018. And we've just been growing that ever since.
Damn, man, I didn't know that it came out that late because I
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
was I really got to know you like very asymmetrically
yeah,
around the 2019 content. Yeah, so any guys like that want like really really good hardcore tactical wholesale info, just Google wholesale made easy. I remember literally
yeah.
listening to it 4 years ago. You guys
Nice.
can definitely peep that as well. Okay, let's do some cues as well. So
Yeah,
Aura comes out December 2018. That relatively brings us up to speed in terms of your story, in terms of what you've been working on lately.
exactly. Yeah,
All right, here we go. So, does it account for if you're doing FBA or FBM? Definitely. And do you mind breaking down how the
yeah,
pricing can differ with like the prime bump and stuff like that? Because that's really, really, really important for beginners, and so kind of
yeah.
thing that like you wouldn't really stumble upon unless you're really analyzing Kiva.
1,000%. So yes, Aura knows your offer type as well as your competition. So it kind of depends. If you're doing rule-based repricing strategies, you can basically explicitly tell it, hey, here's what I want to do if my competition is FBA, Merchant Fulfilled, or Amazon. Maven will know and will self-correct. So it knows that you're Merchant Fulfilled going up against an FBA seller and it will act accordingly. That's completely automated. The interesting thing about this whole Merchant Fulfilled pricing versus FBA pricing, it has shifted so much. Back when I was a seller, the standard golden rule, if you are Merchant Fulfilled going up against an FBA seller, you want to be 2% beneath their price to pull the buy box.
Okay.
Now, during COVID, that completely changed. Now, and it's reverted since, but now it depends on the category, right? I mentioned that used media kind of
And
problem.
I was curious because I had seen something about that, and it
Yeah,
really makes sense from the storage facility mindset because books sell very
right.
slow.
Exactly. And so Amazon's really pushing fast turnaround. They don't want stuff sitting there, and used media sits there, books, DVDs, whatever. So you have to look category by category right now. My biggest piece of advice on stuff like this, because they're not explicitly telling us this. This is what's crazy, right? You just have to look at the data and be like, okay, this is basically what's happening right now. And this could change tomorrow. You really have to think through the incentives that Amazon is trying to create and why they would utilize that. So, we did office hours today and somebody asked, hey, are you guys noticing this? We're like, yeah, I'm hearing it a lot. And they're like, well, why would they do that? Well, let's think it through. Why would they incentivize you to not sell FBA and to sell merchant fulfilled? Well, probably because they don't want your stuff sitting around for months on end. I mean, so if you can always get to the root of why they would want to do that, that makes sense. It will help you better understand what is occurring and how to react to it.
Boom, makes sense. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And in my subscription to another service, as soon as I saw the notification,
Hey.
sorry, yeah, Darren's an absolute stud. He's one of my guys here.
What I will say too, if you're getting started right now, the thing that helps us stand out that we've always done is onboarding sessions. They're 20 minutes. They're free. You can do it during your trial. Don't give me a credit card. You'll sit down with Finn, who's right back over there. He's got like 6, I think, scheduled tomorrow already. We will sit down and help you understand why we're recommending certain things. We'll ask you, what are you attempting to achieve? So that 20 minutes, you go from, I have no idea what I'm doing, to I know exactly how to make decisions. I know exactly where to get help. And like, we're up and running and repricing now. So like, I would highly recommend just reach out to support and just say, hey, I want an onboarding session.
Boom. Okay. Another Aura specific question. How long does it typically take to sync your account? Because I'm sure that's one you get often. Yeah. You get often as well.
Yeah. It depends on how large the account is by listings.
Yeah.
So it can vary. Regular, I would say about 10, 15 minutes.
Boom. There we go.
So it's not super long. But if you're coming in with 100,000 listings, it could take 45 to an hour.
The occasional bookseller. Yeah, the occasional
Yeah.
Everyone who does OA is just gambling, even if they aren't buying from authorized distributors. Ironically, Walmart is a significantly more authorized distributor than wholesaler 123 in Indianapolis. So, Dane, I think you're you might be spending a little bit too much time on the Amazon seller forums. Right there is FBA or FBM better for beginners? So it's not like a one size fits all question. FBM will always be better for beginners, assuming it's a listing that has other FBM people on it, because then you can test lighter, you can learn quicker, you can get feedback quicker. But if there's no FBM sellers, then you almost certainly are going to have to FBA that thing right there. So it's listing dependent, I would say.
It's also a trade-off, right? Like there is no one is better than the other. You are trading something every single time. So if you're doing FBM, you're trading time, whereas doing FBA, they're handling all the fulfillment and stuff like that. Granted, not a ton of time, but still time. It's kind of the same argument I use for using a prep center versus not using a prep center. Is it cheaper to do it yourself? Yes. But is it better ROI to pay somebody a little bit more to do it and you not have to touch your inventory, period, and you can reallocate your time to sourcing? So I think it really does depend. I think FBM is easier because there's a lot less moving parts logistically. But eventually you're going to need to learn how to do FBA shipments correctly. And those things do matter. So, and it's also time of year. I mean, listen, Q4, at a certain point, you're only doing FBM. Like you're not, it's not possible to do FBA at a certain point during Q4. You're not getting stuff shipped in.
Yep, that's facts. Can you break down the pricing structure on the different options as well?
Yeah, so we do monthly and annual, and annual gives you a nice little discount. I think it's technically 17%, but we basically give you 2 free months. We do pricing slightly different than a lot of other repricers. Most of the time, they will limit you based on the number of listings. However, when I looked at the data, listings do not correlate to revenue whatsoever. So when you do that, you run the risk of somebody who has a lot of listings but not a lot listings paying what they shouldn't be paying.
Book selling, once again.
That's it, man.
Bottoming out, unfortunately, in all of this here.
Yeah. Oh, listen, if you're a bookseller, I'm sorry, you're always going to get the brunt end. It is what it is. So what we do is we look at the average of the last 2 months of your revenue. That's what we do. So we have 4 tiers. Early stage is $27 a month. That's for sellers doing less than 10K a month. That's really for people getting started. Essential goes up to 50K a month, and that's at $97. Plus goes up to 250K at $197, and then Pro goes up to $1 million a month in revenue, and that's at $297. We recently actually bumped that down a bit. So we do look at the average to smooth it out, which is nice. And what's cool is no matter what tier you're on, even early stage, you have access to all the features. You just have limited usage. So you can use Maven or AI, you can use hyperdrive credits, like all those things. We're not saying, hey, you're new, you don't get the special stuff. No. You should be able to compete with massive sellers at your level.
Boom, that's what's up right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I send my procs in one box? Typically, but just go with what Boxem shows you in respect to the distribution on that. Okay, here we go. Can you do both FBA and FBM on the same account? Yes, even on the same listing at the same time. Yeah. So you're totally good to go on that, and that is a great strategy, especially during prime time later this year, July, August, back to school, November, December, Q4 as well right there. In your account, unless you miss your delivery time. Well, I mean, if you have a choice, like the vast majority of the time you have a choice over that in terms of you choose how quick you ship. Sure, sometimes the post office will mess up. So I completely see that on that. Okay, here we go. What's the strategy versus seller who automatically lowers their buy box 1 cent below yours no matter how many times you adjust? They plummet the price. So most likely that is a seller who does not understand the actual game of delivery dates, fulfillment type, buy box history on different listings, but from an expert in the space, right? What would you give for that?
Okay, so I have a slightly different perspective on this. And I'm going to frame this because this is something we developed recently that we've been promoting from an education standpoint. Here's how I want everybody to think about their products. Every single one of your SKUs and every single one of your competition is in a different phase of the same life cycle. What's a life cycle? Life cycle is just a period of time. When you first come into stock, you tend to be very conservative with your pricing, right? You're not worried about tying up capital, stock, long-term storage fees, all those things. But as time goes on, you should become more aggressive because opportunity cost comes in. Long-term storage fees come in. Your capital is tied up, therefore you cannot spend it over here. We break this life cycle into 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, that conservative, right? We're going to use Maven on this. We're going to use AI because it's designed to find that balance between sales velocity and profitability. Those are your 2 big levers that you're really pulling. Phase 2, we become a little bit more aggressive. That's when we go over to a role-based strategy and we're going to directly target the buy box. We're most likely just going to match it, but that is more aggressive. And then we get to phase 3, which is the liquidation phase, in which case we should be maximizing our time in the buy box. So we should be actually repricing below buy penny because we're trying to move that inventory. So when you see somebody lowering their price, please don't have the perspective of they're just an idiot, they don't know what they're doing. You don't know that. Instead, the perspective you should have is okay, how long have they had this inventory? And there's a big difference between one seller liquidating their inventory and a actual listing price tank. So when I think of a listing as tanking, the entire market shifted, most likely because there was a massive influx of supply. You got to think economics, man. It's supply and demand. If the demand's not changing and the supply side just went up 200%, the price will go down. That's just basic economics. So there is a nuanced way to view this. And when sellers tell you you should never reprice below by a penny, I think they're missing the broader picture. There are times when you should. There are times when you need to liquidate, and that's the right decision because you need your capital back and you can redeploy it over here more profitably. Maybe you made a bad decision, who knows? So if you think about it through that life cycle lens, you can look at each of your listings and say, well, how long have I had this? Should I start to liquidate it? Should I just become a little bit more aggressive, or should the inverse be true? Like I've held stock for a while. I just sold it out, but I just restocked. I shouldn't be aggressive now. I should go back to being conservative. So you're moving up and down this life cycle based on basically the age of your inventory.
Yeah, and on the flip side too, in terms like if something's really well, seeing the price go up in some cases too, or
Right.
changing your mode to be more abundant on something, changing your
Yeah,
minimum
yeah,
as well, right? There's a variety of things you can do in
yeah.
that aspect as well.
And one,
So
what,
oh yeah,
sorry, one little follow up on that too. You can still raise your price when you're in the buy box, right? So even if you are, kind of going into phase 2 and phase 3, you can still technically raise your price. Maven's unique in that it will behaviorally understand the optimal time to raise the price with the buy box to get you sales above the buy box. So that's why we always recommend start with Maven, because that's going to be your best outcome.
makes sense. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Jay. Yeah, so Jay's doing some good work, so you should totally try that out. So yeah, if
Nice.
you guys want that the 2 months free of either tool, it'll be linked in the description right there, and we'll be on for another 10 minutes or so to
Yeah.
answer you guys questions you have too as well. Which is cool. So you're literally in the Aura office right now, right?
Yeah, man, this is us. Yeah, this is the OG office right here. So we got it all. Some walls are white, some are black. We got the big Aura logo
Oh,
embossed
I've
on one
seen
of the
the picture.
walls.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Whiteboards
so,
everywhere.
so do you live in Boston again now, or?
I'm about to. Yeah, I'm about to move
Oh,
back.
cool. Okay, got you,
Yeah,
got
yeah.
you. Okay, because I know you had moved at one point. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm about to come back to the freezing cold, which I'm personally excited for. I like snow. It's magical to me, having grown up in the South.
Cool.
So,
Oh, okay. So are you from Jacksonville then?
I'm from Jacksonville. Yeah,
Cool. Okay, cool,
yeah,
cool, cool. Nice. Okay.
yeah.
Does Maven include all the sales history and pricing decisions, or only? Ooh,
Or when
that's
it,
like someone who you'd see is really in the mix with that.
yeah. I like Matt. Matt, I think we've talked before.
Yeah.
So it's not all sales history. It's whenever your listing came into Aura. So we have two things. We have listing memory, and then we have AI listing memory. Slightly two things. Listing memory is a little bit more simplistic. It allows us to basically, we call it the replay system. So there are times when you make a change either to your strategy or the listing. And what tends to happen in repricing software is they will wait to reflect that at the next organic price change. On average, that's about 15 minutes. So what we do is we actually log the most recent price change information and we replay that the moment you make a change. So if you change your strategy settings, the moment you click save, we're replaying that most recent price change and say, what should we have done now? And we'll just change that. So it's immediate. AI memory factors in a lot more things. It's going to factor in behaviors. So it's going to understand, okay, well, competitor A always matches me. Competitor B always reprices 2 cents below me. So depending on who we're going up against, we can change our behaviors. There's a lot of game theory, kind of stuff inside of that. But it's not everything. I wish it could be. If we were to build that, you would basically have to get all the data for every listing possible, which is very expensive.
That would be,
$100 grand a month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, very, very interesting. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, so tune in. Okay. So for anyone who might have tapped in, past couple minutes here, Dylan, break down what are we doing here today? Now, you and I hop on about once a year for the podcast, but specifically,
I know, man.
What are we doing here today in respect to the announcement and everything? For anyone who might not be familiar, exactly what they can do as of 11 a.m. this morning or so.
Exactly. Yeah, right on the money. So we took 2 amazing softwares and we gave the people what they wanted. Because I kept hearing, hey, what about Boxem? What about Boxem? What about Boxem? I'm like, I kind of like Boxem. So we have integrated. So now your costs will automatically flow into your Aura account with the integration, which is completely free. And you have 4 variations. You can take the average cost, the current cost, the minimum cost, the maximum cost. It's up to you. You get to configure it however you see fit. And what's nice about that is Aura, that also works on your phone. You don't have to go in and add costs and all that stuff. And so if you want to automate 90% of your repricing software, you need a few things. Well, your strategy should be automatically setting your min values, 20% ROI, things like that. That kind of requires your costs. So if you have an integration that's pulling in your costs, a workflow that says whenever a new listing gets imported into my account, I want to set this strategy, which is calculating your min values and enabling repricing, you didn't have to do anything. Your stuff can be checked in at 2 a.m. And guess what? It's repricing already. And third thing, we have an age of inventory workflow. So like that life cycle phase stuff I was talking about, you can automate all that with like 6 things. We have documentation on how to do it. We'll set it up for you if you want. You can basically say if my oldest age of inventory is less than 30 days, assign Maven, phase 1. If it's between 31 and 60, assign buy box strategy, phase 2. If it's greater than 90 days, liquidate it. And oh, by the way, if I restock, go ahead and now my age of inventory is less than 30, go back to Maven. So you can automate 90% of your repricing software with those 3 things.
Boom. Makes sense. And in terms of, for anyone who wants to see what that actually looks like, all you need to do is go to the settings in your Boxem account and then go to integrations. And then you'll see literally it's pretty simple. There's just like a beautiful Aura logo, which is on Dylan's shirt right now as well. Right. And you can just bang, pop that thing in there. And then and then on the Aura side of things, where do you activate in your Aura account specifically as well?
Yeah. So you're going to go up to settings, go to integrations, very similar. You're going to see Boxem. You click into that, hit add, and then you're going to get the configuration and you're going to choose what kind of cost you want to pull in. It's going to default to average because that makes sense for most people. One thing I will say, it makes more sense to enable the integration in Boxem first and then come over to Aura. That way Boxem's data is already pre-populated ready. Otherwise, it could take a little bit longer to pull that data in.
Boom. Makes sense right there.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, what's up, Jana? I'm a brand new seller and a brand/product sent private label after I listed it. We're not sure exactly what you're asking on that. So you could reiterate that. That'd be awesome. Right there is the price change for life or may change later. So in terms of Boxem, I believe we're doing minimum a year of price hike immunity currently, but we have no plans to change it currently.
Nice.
Yeah. As well. So that sounds good. Cool. Sweet. So yeah. So basically as of now, right, you can go ahead and get that activated in your Boxem account and your Aura account. Take advantage of 2 months free of either tool as well. This will be on the Boxem channel as well. Thanks guys. I'll take a look. Cool. Sounds good. And then Dylan, where can people find more about Aura, both in terms like your personal stuff you're putting out and then in terms like signing up potentially as well? With the link in the description, some of the blog content you put out, where can people check that stuff out?
Yeah. So I'm mainly active on Twitter. Dylan_Carter is my handle. I post a lot there. We do 2 blog posts a week right now. We're really diving into a lot of Walmart education because there's so much there to figure out. So that's at GoAura, GOAURA.com/blog. If you want to sign up, it's just GoAura.com. We do weekly live office hours. So we syndicate that to Twitter, everywhere else, and it's every Wednesday. So we did it today from 2 to 3 p.m. and we just jump in, answer any questions. It's open to everyone. So even if you're not an Aura user, you can jump in and ask us questions about it. And we do this kind of format right here. So for us, we keep it kind of simple. It's an ungated 14-day trial, meaning we're not going to ask you for a credit card to try it. My biggest piece of advice, if you're at all interested, sign up for a trial, reach out to the support and say, hey, I want to get an onboarding session ASAP. And if we can't get to you for a week and you're halfway through your trial, we'll reset it because I want you to have 14 days of actual repricing. Do all that. And the measurement you're looking for in any repricing tool is during my free trial, did it make me more than what it would have cost me to pay for that? That's what you're looking for. And lean on our team. We don't have VAs here. It's everybody's back behind me. It's not in frame. Or actually, it's 5, so everybody just left. But you're going to talk with Finn or Casey, who's actually a human who's here, and like we're down to help you guys with whatever. But that's my biggest piece of advice: is get in, test it out, see if it's a good fit for you.
Cool. All right. Sounds good, man. Well, yeah, we got that live for you guys. So you guys can check that out. Link in the description if you're interested too. And then Dylan didn't mention it, but y'all check out the Wholesale Made Easy podcast, or at least in the plugs right there. So probably been like damn near like 6 years since the last episode, but timeless.
It's still live.
Timeless principles. Yep.
Listen, it cost me $7 to keep it up. I'm going to keep paying for it. So
that's not bad. Okay, cool. Sweet. Sounds good. Well, yeah, guys, we're excited to get that for you guys, and we'll see you guys on future live streams. And thanks a lot for coming on, Dylan, in terms of doing the live stream with us too as well. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, y'all check out the link in the description if you guys are interested, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. See y'all later.